Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Srimad Bhagavatam review class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavansha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नितिनामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna, welcome everyone. Today we are starting with the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, the second canto, which is entitled as the Cosmic Manifestation. So, this second canto establishes the supremacy and the universality of Bhakti Yoga. So, in this second canto, we will see many of the descriptions of creation of the material universe, which is called as Sarga. So, Sarga means the creation of the universe, and it is described through conversation of Brahma and Narada. So, the second canto also describes the Virat Rupa of the Lord, which is a material form of the Lord. It also describes the Chatushloki Bhagavatam, the four seed verses which make the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. And in the fourth chapter, we'll see the prayers of Shukadeva Goswami also. And in this chapter, there are multiple descriptions of the universal form. The Virata Rupa is described 3 times in the second canto and 2 times in the third canto. So, somebody may question that why the same thing is described 5 times, but there is a reason to it. It is not the same thing. There are differences. And in the end of the second canto, the 10 topics of Bhagavatam are also described. Atra sarga visargascha sthanam poshanamutayah manvantareshanukasha katha nirodho muktirashrayah. So these are the 10 topics which make a Puran as Mahapuran. So Bhagavatam is called as Mahapuran, and the 10 topics which has to be there in any Mahapuran is described in this 10th chapter of the second canto. And we have heard in Bhagavad Gita that the form of the Lord, which is described as universal form, it is an imaginary form. So the natural question comes, why to spend so much of time discussing something which is imaginary, So is it required? But actually, Srila Prabhupada, he told Swarup Damodar Goswami Maharaj that you make an institute called Bhaktivedanta Institute, BI. And the purpose of this institute was to establish that everything is coming from the Supreme Lord. Krishna is the source of this material creation. So Shukadeva Goswami describes that to hear the material creation is also very, very important. Mayam varnayato mushya ishwarasyanumoditah shrunvata shraddhaya nityam mayayatmanam huyati. So Shukdev Goswami says, Mayam Varnayato Amushya. So this description of the Maya means the description of the material energy of the Lord, Ishwarasya Anumoditaha, because it is happening by the will of the Lord, Shrinvata Shraddhaya Nityam. Anybody who hears this description with faith, Shraddhaya, Nityam, regularly, what will happen? Maya Yatma na muhyati. He will not be bewildered by the material nature. So therefore, in this Bhagavatam, we'll see whenever speaker, whenever some audience is asking a question, the first question is asked about the basic influence of material energy. Even if Vidura is asking Maitreya, Narad Muni is asking Brahma, the first question which is asked is, please explain about the material creation. Dhruva Maharaj also, when Lord comes in front of him, he tells that you are the supreme cause of all causes, from whom entire universe is coming out. So therefore, this theme of describing the creation of the Lord, it is consistent throughout Bhagavatam. And the more we understand this creation pastimes of the Lord, then we will grow in our understanding. Many times devotees, they feel, oh, this creation, oh my God, so complex, so difficult to understand. Why not discuss some other pastimes? Why not discuss the 10th canto pastimes, which are directly related to Krishna? Why are we discussing such complicated pastimes? Nothing is going in the brain, everything is going above head, But to understand and to advance in devotional service, we have to have the basic understanding of the creation, basic understanding of the supremacy of the Lord. Who is this Lord who is performing so many pastimes? He is the one who is the proprietor of the entire universe. He is a source of Brahman. He is a source of Paramatma. He is a source of this entire universe. And if we are in such consciousness, then we can appreciate other pastimes of the Lord. So therefore, this is very, very important to absorb ourselves in understanding the creation pastimes. If we understand the creation pastimes, actually in the 5th canto, in the end of the 5th canto, Shukdev Goswami says that to understand the 10th canto pastimes are more difficult than understanding the creation pastimes of the Lord. It may look completely opposite for us, right? For us, it may look other way around. Oh, 10th canto pastime, so easy, you can read and you can relish. But no, Shukdev Goswami is saying 10th canto pastimes are more difficult to understand because you may hear those pastimes, we may hear those pastimes, but we will not understand the import, understand the gravity of those pastimes till we don't understand who is this personality who is performing these pastimes. So therefore, this creation, it is also a Rasa Leela which Krishna is performing. Krishna is reciprocating with each and every living entity's desire to lord it over the universe by creating this universe. Such complex creation. Why? To reciprocate with the desires of the living entity. So that is what we have to learn from these creation pastimes. So now we'll begin with this 2nd canto. So the 1st canto, it ended with Parikshit Maharaj asking few questions to Shukdev Goswami. Atha prichhami samsiddhim yoginam paramam gurum purushasyeha yatkaryam mriyamanasya sarvatha. O Shukdev Goswami, please tell me, Atha prichhami, I want to know what a person should do at all times and a person who is about to die. At yat shrotavyam atho japyam yat kartavyam nribhi prabho smartavyam bhajaniyam va bruhi yadva viparyam. Please tell me what is to be heard, what is to be remembered, what is to be chanted, and what is not to be heard, remembered, and chanted. So Parikshit, he was not a new devotee. Even we, as followers of Krishna consciousness, spending few years, we have understood all these. So if somebody says, "Arey, how is it that Parikshit Maharaj is asking such questions?" He was a devotee from childhood. Savai Bhagavato Raja Pandavayo Maharatha. It is described in the second canto that Balak Kridanakam Kridan Krishna Kridam Ya Adade. Even as a child, Parikshit would play with dolls of Krishna. So, will he have such doubts? He is asking such doubts only for the welfare of all of us. So, therefore, in the first chapter of the second canto, which is entitled The First Step in God Realization. Why it is entitled like this? The first step in God realization? Because in this chapter, Shukdev Goswami is going to describe the Brahman feature of the Lord. How Brahman is the first step in God realization. Second chapter deals with Paramatma, third chapter deals with Bhagavan. Second chapter is entitled Lord in the Heart. That is Paramatma. Third chapter is entitled The Pure Devotional Service. That is Bhagavan feature. So therefore, this chapter begins with invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And Parikshit Maharaj, when he asked these questions to Shukdev Goswami, now Shukdev Goswami is first congratulating Parikshit Maharaj. What a wonderful question you have asked. Amazing question. Very famous verse. Varyaneshate prashna krito loka hitam nripaha atmavit sammatah pumsam shrotavyadishu yah parah. Varyan, what a question you have asked. He says, your question is glorious. Forget about the answer. Your question is glorious. Why? Krito loka hitam nripaha. Because it is very beneficial for all kinds of people. Atmavit sammata. Atmavit. Atmavit means the knowers of Atma, the transcendentalists. They have approved such questions. And Shrotavyadishu yaparaha. The answers to these questions are worth hearing. So throughout Bhagavatam, you will find there is a tremendous mutual cooperation and appreciation between the speaker and the hearer of the Bhagavatam. So the speaker glorifies the audience and the audience glorifies the speaker. There's a mutual cooperation, mutual appreciation. In the first canto also we heard when sages of Naimisharanya, they asked the questions. Suta Goswami said, Munaya sadhu prishtoham bhavadbhir mangalam. Oh, what a wonderful question you have asked. Bhavadbhir mangalam yatkrita Krishna samprashno yena atma suprasidati. Because these questions are related to Krishna, so therefore they are worth hearing. They can create auspiciousness for everyone. Prabhupada writes, even the very question is so nice that it is the best subject matter for hearing. The question is the best subject matter. Because by hearing such questions, one can achieve the highest perfection of life. So Chakravarti Thakur writes that question alone, if you remember the question alone, if you chant, hear and remember the question alone, the life will become successful. So that is the glory of the question. Because in the 10th canto it is said, Vasudeva katha prashna purusham strin punatihi vaktaram prachakam shrotram tatpad salilam yatha. When a question is asked in the assembly, three people get benefited. Vasudeva Katha. If the Vasudeva Katha is going on, Bhagavat Katha is going on, and if a question is asked, three people get benefited. Who are they? Vakta, Prachakam, and Shrotram. The person who gives answers, the person who asks the question, and the others who are hearing it. Just like Ganga purifies the three planetary systems, the questions, they purify three types of people. So after glorifying the question, now Shukadeva Goswami, he first answers what should not be heard, what should not be chanted, and what should not be remembered. Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nrinam Santi Sahasrasaha Atmavit Apashyatam Atmatattvam Griheshu Grihamedinam. Is telling, O king, Nrinam Santi Sahasrasaha. People have hundreds and thousands of topics to talk about. Apashyatam Atmatattvam. Because they do not know the actual purpose of life, they are blind to the knowledge of absolute truth, Atma Tattva. Therefore, they hear all the other subject matters, politics, sports, Bollywood, whatever you take. Apashyatam Atma Tattvam, because people, they don't see the value of life. Griheshu Grihamedinam, that's why they are materially engrossed. So Prabhupada in the purport, he describes who is a grihastha and who is a grihamedhi. Grihastha means one who has put Krishna in the center of his life. And grihamedhi means one whose intelligence is only in maintaining his family. So Prabhupada writes that, generally in this age, in this world, grihamedhi means one family man will be envious of other family man. Oh, you have so many assets, I want to have more. So that's how the envy increases. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he would tell, just like there is a Grihamedhi, there is something called Mathamedhi also. So Mathamedhi means one who is just interested in using the resources of the Matha or Ashrama to live a comfortable life. So anywhere it is possible, either Grihamedhi or Mathamedhi. If the consciousness is not in Krishna, the situation does not matter. A person staying in ashrama can also, be engrossed in sense gratification. Apashyatam Atma Tattvam. What is Atma Tattva? Chakravarti Thakur writes, who am I? What should I do? What should be my future? How will I get delivered from this material world? These are the questions a person who is the knower of truth, he asks. But those who are Griha Medhi, Medhra, Griha Medhri. So Prabhupada also writes that Medhri means intelligence. So Griha Medhri means his Medha is only in Griha. And another purport Chakravarti Thakur gives that those people who are attached to their houses and they are engaged in 5 types of sins. What are the 5 types of sins? There are 5 types of sins which are performed involuntarily, unknowingly. Just like in the olden times when people would pound grains at home to take out rice, some insects, some worms are killed. In cooking, some insects are killed. While grinding, some insects are killed. While filling water in the pot, some insects are killed. While brooming also, some insects are killed. So a person who is not cultivating Krishna consciousness, he lives a sinful life because he is killing all these things. So therefore he is apashyatam atmatattvam. What else he does? Nidrayariyate naktam vyavayena cha vavayah divacharthe hayarajan kutumba bharanenava. At night, either he is sleeping or having sex life. nidraya or vyavayena, and whole day artha ihaya is engaged in earning money. Why? Kutumba bharanenava, because he wants to maintain his family. That is the whole life of a materialist. Prabhupada writes, the materialistic way of life is described in nutshell here. This is what people are doing. Apart from these two things, nothing is happening anywhere. Sleeping or sex life and working in the day, that's all. So Prabhupada writes, the present human civilization is based on this. Whole day work and at night either sleep or have sex life. But Prabhupada writes that human life is not meant for hard labor like dogs and like asses, and it is not meant to have a sex indulgence like hogs and dogs. Prabhupada was very strong about these principles. So therefore, human life should be for Atma Tattva. Kamasya nendriya priti labho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa narto yascheha sukarmabhihi. So Bhagavatam describes Kamasya na indriya priti. You should not earn for sense gratification. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. One should endeavor for tattva jigyasa. Otherwise, people are just working and sleeping. And then they don't understand that how their life is passing by. People think their relatives will help them, their bank balance, family, their body, their property, they will protect them, but they are themselves fallible soldiers. Deha patya kalatradishu atma sainyasva satswapi tesham pramatto nidhanam pashyannapi na pashyati. Deha, body, apatya, wife or children, kalatra, wife, adi means everything else. He thinks these are my sena, atma sainya, they are my soldiers, they will protect me. Although they are asatsu, they are themselves temporary. Tesham pramatto nidhanam. Actually, these persons are inexperienced. Pashyannapi na pashyati. They do not see the death coming. They do not see that death is inevitable for sure, you know. So this is they think that this deha patya, it is the foundation of their life. They are getting some juice from there. And that's why they are working hard. They are convinced that these people, this property, this money will save them. Apashyatam. Na pashyannapi na pashyati. Although they see that, oh, relatives are dying, this person is also dead, oh, this is also dead, but still they don't accept it. That is the life of a Grihamedhi. So Chakravarti Thakur writes that body and other things are like one's army for fighting against time. One is attached to these things even though they are false, because soul has no relationship with any of these things. All these things, they are temporary, but still person gets attached to it. And Prabhupada writes that not only these things and people, they are fallible, they are themselves bewildered by the glamour of the material world. How will they save us? Our relatives, our family members, they are also bewildered. How will they save us? So therefore, Prabhupada writes that whole material civilization is like a decoration of a dead body. One cannot get any gain, any benefit by decorating a dead body. And then he tells what should be chanted, heard, and remembered. Tasmad Bharat Sarvatma Bhagavani Shvaro Harihi Shrotavyah Kirtitavyascha Smartavyascha Ichchata Bhayam. Therefore, O Bharata, O descendant of King Bharata, Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvara Hari. So three things he says. Sarvatma, that Hari who is Sarvatma, who is the super soul, who is Bhagavan, who is the controller, and who is Ishvara. Ishvara means who is a savior from all the, who is Hari. So Bhagavan, Ishvara, and Hari. So he's a savior from all the miseries. So what you should do? Shrotavya, you should hear about him. Kirtitavya, chant his names. Smartavya, always remember. So Lord Hari is the subject. Sarvatma, Bhagavan, and Ishvara. So three types of modifiers are described, Chakravarti Thakur writes. So Sarvatma, Bhagavan, and Ishvara. These three terms represents three types of bhakti. Sarvatma means those people who want liberation from this world. They are fearful and they want mukti. They will also get success when they hear, chant, and remember the names of Hari. Second, those people who are trying to develop Raganuga Bhakti, they have a fear. How will I develop spontaneous attraction for Bhagwan? Bhagwan word has come. So their fear is, everyone has fear in this world. So those who are Gyanis, they want to be free of the fear of this material world. Those who are Raganuga Bhaktas, their fear is, I want to develop spontaneous relationship with the Lord. How will I develop that? And those who are Vaidhi Bhaktas, they also have a fear. What fear they have? How will I control my senses? They should also Shrotavya, Kirtitavya, and Smartavya. So whoever you may be, either you are a Jnani or you are a pure devotee or you are a sadhaka, Shrotavya, Kirtitavya, Smartavyascha, Ichchata, Abhayam. If you want Abhay, if you want fearlessness, then you have to hear, chant, and remember Krishna. So therefore, if somebody says, oh, how will I control my senses? Oh, Shukadeva Goswami says, don't worry. Just chant, because Krishna is a Ishvara. He is a supreme controller. He can control your senses also. Tan drishtva bhayasantrastan uche krishnasya bhi bhayam mitrani ashan ma viramate iha anishye vatsakanaham. When Brahmaji stole the calves, so all the cowherd boys, they were eating and they stopped. Arey, cows are not there. They became fearful. Krishna says, oh, don't worry. Don't stop eating. Continue eating. I will bring the cows. So the cows are senses also. So when we are engaging in our service, we should not be disturbed and concerned. How will I control my senses? That will happen automatically. If we are focused on chanting, remembering, and serving Krishna, it is Krishna's responsibility to bring the cows back. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, hearing and chanting about the Lord is identical with associating with the Lord. So that is what we have to do. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes that the cha word has come two times. Kirtitavyascha and smartavyascha. So these two words, cha means after shrotavya, after shrotavya, these two words have come. So after hearing, one has to chant and one has to remember. These are the two responsibilities of a listener. Shrotavya, kirtitavyascha, smartavyascha. So after you hear, you have to chant and you have to remember if you want fearlessness. So Parikshit Maharaj may say, Arey, you have given a sectarian answer. how will everyone follow the three limbs of bhakti? There are jnanis also, there are yogis also, there are karmis also. What about them? What will they do? Is it the ultimate practice everybody has to do? Shukdev Goswami says yes. Etavan sankhya yogabhyam swadharma parinishthaya janmalabha parapamsam ante narayana smriti. So either you are a follower of sankhya or a yoga or a karma, anything. Janma labha paraha. The highest perfectional gain of a human form is ante narayana smriti. At the end of the life, we have to remember Krishna. So all the paths, they lead to the ultimate goal of life. So therefore it is very, very important that all the paths, they lead to one goal, but all the paths without bhakti will not take you to the goal. Either you are following karma or a jnana or a yoga. The bhakti element has to be there. Without bhakti, one cannot become successful. It is like Bhagavatam tells, it is like beating the empty husks of rice. Shreya sritim bhakti mudasyate vibho klishyanti ye kevala bodha labdhaye tesham asau kleshala eva shishyate nanyadyatha sthula tushavaghatinam. If somebody is following jnana but he is not worshipping Krishna, he will not get anything. All his endeavor will be like beating the empty husks of grain. Similarly for karma, similarly for yoga. Mere doing asanas and pranayam will not give anything. It is like burning of the fats. All the yoga exercises, they'll be like burning of the fats. If Krishna is not there, if bhakti is not there. So therefore Prabhupada writes in one of the purports that empiric knowledge without surrender to the Lord is imperfect. If somebody is cultivating knowledge but not surrendering to Krishna, he will not get the result of the knowledge also. And if somebody is working, somebody is a karmi, but he is not having Krishna consciousness, it is a waste of time. Nobody gets anything if Krishna is not added. As simple as that. Even if you want the results of karma, you have to add Krishna. Even if you want to get the results of yoga, you have to add Krishna. Even if you want to get the results of jnana, you have to add Krishna. Bhakti has to be there. So Prabhupada writes, by karma, jnana and yoga, one can attain the highest perfection of life, provided one is able to remember Narayan. Unless bhakti is there, they will not get the success in their life. And the examples are given. The Kumaras, they were Gyanis. They became successful when they became devotees, when they smelled the fragrance of the tulasi which is offered at the feet of the Lord. Prachina Barhi, he was a karmi. He became a devotee and became successful. Navayogendras, they were yogis. They became successful by becoming devotees. So Parikshit Maharaj, after hearing, he may say, you have made such a great statement about bhakti, that all paths end in bhakti. Is there any example? Example hai kya koi? Shukdev Goswami anticipating this, he says, Prayena munayo rajan nivritta vidhishedhatah nairgunyastha ramante sma gunanukathane hari. Prayena, generally, most of the transcendentalists, nivritta vidhishedhatah, who have given up all the prescribed duties of Vedas, what they do? Nairgunyastha ramante sma, and who are involved in all the who are above all the regulative principles. Nairgunyastha, who are already liberated. What they are doing? Gunanu kathane hari. They are also chanting the names of the Lord. So Chakravarti Thakur writes that perfection is to realize the sweetness of the Lord. That is a perfection of jnana. That is perfection of karma. That is perfection of yoga. So the word used is prayena. So prayena means generally some jivan muktas, they perform glorification of the Lord to merge in Brahman, and they do not take pleasure in the glorification, but they want to attain Brahman. Some are like that, but most of the others, they get attracted to Krishna. Parikshit Maharaj may say, "Arey, you are making a general statement. I want a specific example. कोई एक नाम तो बताओ, you know." So you are making a general statement. You are making a very controversial statement that all karma, karmi, yogi, jnani, unless you take shelter of bhakti, you will not get anything. It is a very, very sectarian thing. As if, you know, ISKCON matlab ye Hare Krishna mein nahi aaya. If you are not worshipping God, you are doomed. If you are not worshipping Krishna. So Parikshit Maharaj is having that, thought. You are making a very, very general statement. Please tell specifically one name. Shukdev Goswami says, why to go anywhere else? I am the example. Myself. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Adhitavan Dwaparado Pitur Dvaipayana Dvayam. So he says, Idam, this great supplement of Vedic literature called Srimad Bhagavatam, Puranam Brahma Samhitam. It is equal to all the Vedas. Adhitavan Dwaparado, at the end of Dwapar Yuga, I studied Adhitavan, this Bhagavatam, from my father. So Parikshit Maharaj may question, अरे मैं क्या क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा हूँ, आप क्या आंसर दे रहे हैं? You are telling that you studied Bhagavatam from Vyasdev. How does that answer my question that all the Gyanis took to bhakti? Is there any relationship with that? So Shukdev Goswami says, wait, hear my history. He says, Parinishthitopi nairgunya uttama shloka leelaya grihita cheta rajarshe akhyanam yad adhitavan. Are, I am that proof. Hear my history. I am learning Bhagavatam. Who was I in the past? Parinishthitopi nairgunya. I was fixed in Brahman. Nairgunya, I was beyond the gunas. Uttama shloka leelaya. That Supreme Lord who is described in choicest verses. When I heard about him, grihita cheta, my consciousness was attracted. And therefore, I heard, I learned these pastimes. So we know the story in the first canto when Shukdev Goswami was in the womb of his mother, he was not ready to come out. He was fearful of Maya. Vyasdev, he said, "Arey, please come out." He said, "No, I know I'll come out and I'll get affected by Maya." Vyasdev said, "Okay, what should I do? How will you come out?" So Shukdev Goswami says, if Mayadhish comes and gives me assurance, I'll come out. So Krishna goes and calls Krishna. Vyasdev goes and calls Krishna. Krishna gives assurance and he comes out. Vyasdev comes out. But he doesn't stay. He walks out naked. He was completely detached. And then Vyasdev is running behind. "Oh son, please come." Because every father, every mother wants to make his child a devotee. Because he was Brahman, realized Vyasdev wanted that Shukdev Goswami should become a devotee. So he sent some of his disciples in the dress of woodcutters. And Vyasdev told them that when you reach the place where Shukdev Goswami is there, while cutting the wood, you speak the glories of Krishna. And he spoke 2 verses. Baraha Pidam Natavarapu Karnayo Karnikaram Bibhradvasa Kanaka Kapishaha Vaijayanti Chamala Randranvenum Madarasudaya Purayan Gopa Brinde Brindaranyam Sapadaраmanam Pravishad Gita Kirti. This is the beauty of Krishna when he is entering Brindavan. All the gopis are seeing this beauty. So Vyasdev told that you speak this one verse glorifying the beauty of Krishna, and you speak other verse glorifying the magnanimity of Krishna. Aho bakiyam stanakalakutam jigham sayatmya yadapya sadhavi lebhe gatim dhatriuchitam tatonyam kamavadayalu sharanam brajema. Describing the magnanimous nature of Krishna. Putana came to kill him, and she was given the position of Dhatri. So Shukdev Goswami is saying, I am that example. I was absorbed in Brahman. Still, look, I am now attracted. So Prabhupada writes that Shukdev Goswami, he is not attracted by any mundane activity. So we should understand that this personality is getting attracted to Bhagavatam. That means it is a transcendental literature. And Prabhupada focuses on the word Akhyanam Yad Adhitavan. I heard, and in the previous verse, where Shukdev Goswami is saying, I learned Bhagavatam from my father Vyasdev. So Prabhupada writes that one should hear scriptures from bona fide sources, just like if somebody is a medical student, he does not go to anybody and study. He has to go to an authorized bona fide university and professor. Although medical books are available in the market, nobody can go and buy anatomy and physiology books and become a doctor. He has to first take admission in the college. So therefore, first you have to take admission in the parampara. So that's what Prabhupada is writing. So then after this, Parikshit Maharaj may get another doubt. He says, Oh Shukdev Goswami, I also want to attain this rare thing. Please, I desire that you make me taste from head to foot, this entire Bhagavatam. So seeing this eagerness of Parikshit Maharaj, Shukdev Goswami says, okay, I'll tell you. Tadaham te vidhasyami mahapaurushiko bhavan yasya shraddadatamashu syan mukunde mati sati. Therefore, that very Bhagavatam, very Srimad Bhagavatam which my father taught to me, I shall recite to you because you are Mahapaurushiko. You are the most sincere devotee of Krishna. Yasya Shraddadadhamashu. And what is the Falastuti? Anybody who hears this description with faith and with respect, Syan Mukunde Matisati, he will develop a consciousness of Krishna. He will develop unflinching faith in Krishna. So therefore, Shukdev Goswami is saying, oh Parikshit, you are a Mahapaurushiko, you are a person who should attain Krishna, who is a Mahapurusha. Therefore, you are called as Mahapaurushika. So Prabhupada again in the purport he describes that Vedic knowledge is Avaroha Pantha. Avaroha Pantha means it is a descending knowledge. It has to be acquired by taking shelter and surrendering to the bona fide authorities. And Prabhupada writes in detail how we have to get knowledge by serving the superiors. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. And then Prabhupada writes that it is not something which is understood now that, oh, spiritual master will pass the information like the current and the master loses everything and the disciple says, oh, now I have acquired all the knowledge. No, it is not like that. Bona fide master logically and reasonably explains everything to the disciple. So that is what Prabhupada writes. And disciples should receive this information intellectually, and not just intellectually, but by submissive inquiries and a service attitude. And then after this, Shukdev Goswami continues that so Parikshit Maharaj may ask, okay, I understood that bhakti is a supreme, but you have told three limbs, Shrotavya, Kirtitavya, Smartavya. Out of the three, which is most powerful? Hearing, chanting, remembering, which is most powerful? He says, Harinam Kirtan is a topmost. Etan nirvidyamanaam ichchatam akuto bhayam yoginam nipnirnitam harer namanu kirtanam. Etan nirvidyamananam, people who are free from all the material desires. Ichchatam akuto bhayam, those who want to become free of all the bhay of the material world. What they should do? Harer Nam Anukirtana. They should chant constantly. Anukirtan means constantly. This is Nrip Nirnitam. This is bona fide, and this is prescribed by authorities. Nirnitam, it is prescribed. So among all the angas of bhakti, Kirtanam is the best. Among Kirtan also there is Guna Kirtan, Lila Kirtan, Nama Kirtan. Which is the best? Nama Anu Kirtan, chanting of the names of the Lord is the best. I am not just telling this. Nripanirnitam, previous acharyas have also told this, not just me. So it is prescribed by authorities. It is prescribed by the great devotees, Nirvidyamananam. So therefore, please chant the names of the Lord. So hearing the holy name, Prabhupada writes, hearing the holy name gradually promotes one to the stage of hearing about the form. So chanting the Naam leads to the realization of the Rupa. Chanting of the Rupa leads to realization of Guna, and chanting of and hearing the Guna leads to realization of the Leela of the Lord. So that is the process. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that according to Srila Shukadeva Goswami, this is not just concluded by him, but by the previous authorities also. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport, long purport Prabhupada writes describing the 10 offenses against the holy name. Somebody may question, if Kirtan is the best, then why Shukadeva Goswami didn't allow Parikshit Maharaj to do Kirtan for next 7 days? He should have done the Kirtan, that's all. Why Rupa Kirtan? Why Lila Kirtan? Because if Kirtan is done without faith, it will not give any result. So therefore, all the 7 days of chanting the name, form, pastimes of the Lord was for one purpose, for creating the faith in Parikshit Maharaj's heart so that he can take that one name which can liberate him. Because ashraddhaya hutam dattam tapas tattam kritam chait asadityuchyate partha nacha tat pretyano. Here 17th chapter Bhagavad Gita tells, last verse, anything done without faith does not give any result. And then Parikshit Maharaj says, Sukadeva Goswami says, why you are so worried? Parikshit Maharaj says, I am worried because you have told me to do chanting and process is perfect, but will it help me to get delivered in 7 days? Shukadeva Goswami says, what to speak of 7 days? One moment is enough. Kim pramattasya bahubhir parokshair hayaneriha varam muhurtam veditam ghatate shreyase yatah. What is the use of a life wasted in vain? Varam muhurtam, better than a life of which is wasted in material consciousness, better than that is One muhurta spent in Krishna consciousness. What is the use of long life? People may live for hundreds of years. Second canto, it will come in the second chapter. Arey, trees also live for thousands of years. What is the use? Tarva kimna jivanti? Are trees not living? What is the use of living if you are not spending your time in hearing about Krishna? It is like you have a library full of books, but you don't know which book to read. So what is the use of such a huge lifespan when you don't know what to do? So again, Prabhupada mentions that offenses to the holy names we have to avoid. And then Parikshit Maharaj may say, Arey, this is figurative. Arey, parokshar hayaneriha, varam muhurtam, ek muhurat mein success ho sakta hai. This may look figurative. Shukdev Goswami says, no, it is true. I'll give an example. Khatwango nam rajarshe gyatavyayatam ihayushaha muhurtat sarvamutsrijya gatavan abhayam harim. Arey, I'll give you an example. Khatwang namu rajarshi. There was a great king named Khatwang. So this Khatwang, he was called by devatas to fight on their behalf. And he was fighting for a long, long time. And then he defeated all the demons, and devatas are very happy. They said, "O king, please ask for a benediction." So this Khatwang was a very great devotee. He said, "Wait, before that, you tell me, how much time do I have? More." So the devata said, "We are very sorry to say you have only 2 muhurtas remaining." So immediately in one muhurta, Khatwanga Maharaj transferred himself from heaven to earth, and in next one muhurta, he meditated on the Lord and attained perfection. That is what he is telling. Muhurtat sarvam utsrijya. In a moment, he gave up everything and attained perfection. That is the perfection. That is the power and glory of the holy name. And then he says, you have not one moment, you have 7 days. Why you are worried? Because Parikshit Maharaj was worried, how will I perform all the rituals of bhakti? He says, don't worry. One moment is enough. And, then Parikshit Maharaj may question that actually what you have told, it doesn't look like, Shukdev Goswami is not so much interested in making it a dogmatic statement, because he's also sensing Parikshit Maharaj's expressions. Because Parikshit Maharaj is aware that there are so many other people who are sitting. There are yogis, there are jnanis, there are karmis sitting in the assembly, hearing Bhagavatam, and you are telling that by bhakti you can do anything. So Shukdev Goswami, he senses that, and he does not like to make it a dogmatic statement. So therefore, now he opens up the discussion. Now Shukdev Goswami is going to compare the process of bhakti yoga with jnana and with ashtanga. And then he will give his own opinion that how bhakti yoga is a supreme. So why so much discussion of the universal form is going on in this second canto, which this Bhagavatam is Amalam Puranam. It is discussing only Bhagavatam, only Krishna's pastimes. Why universal form? Because unless you become strong in the Siddhanta, you cannot taste the rasa of Bhagavatam. And different people have different qualification, different nature, and Shukdev Goswami wants to bring everybody close to Bhagavatam. Nobody should feel left out. Arey, mere liye kuch hai nahi isme. So that's why Shukdev Goswami is giving everything. He's a perfect preacher who preaches according to time, place, circumstances, according to the needs of the people, so that everybody's level of enthusiasm is maintained. Oh, there is nothing in it for us. Why we should hear? No, he's telling everybody, okay, there is something for you also, something for you also. So that's why after telling this, now In the next section, from 15 to 39th verses, Shukdev Goswami is speaking another popular opinion, which is the path of jnana, which is mixed with devotion. Because there were many sages in the assembly who were having the conceptions of jnana. So now he is going to describe the process of jnana or ashtanga. Antakale tu purusha agate gata sadhvasah chindyada sanga shastrena spriham deshe nuyena yechatam. So now he's telling at the end of one's life, one should be bold enough not to be afraid of death. One should give up all material entanglements and all the desires. So Parikshit Maharaj had asked a question, what should a dying man do? So now Shukdev Goswami is giving an answer that he should focus his consciousness and he should enter Brahman. Actually, this is not Shukdev Goswami's opinion. He will give his opinion at the end of the second chapter. He is giving the opinion of some of the people who are there in the assembly. And Prabhupada, he very strongly criticizes this gross materialism where people, they are attached to family life till the end. And Prabhupada, right, just see, here Shukdev Goswami is telling we should give up all sense gratification and focus on Supreme Lord. And after that, Shukdev Goswami, he describes the various processes of the Ashtanga Yoga, starting with Yama, Niyama. He says, one should leave the family, Grihat Pravrajito Dhira. A sober person should leave the family and practice self-control, sit in a proper posture and meditate. So Yam, Niyam and Asan. And then after that, he should control his breath by the process of pranayam. He should avoid some things, that is pratyahar, and by all these things, he is supposed to purify his mind. Then he can reach the stage of dharana. But somehow or other, if the mind is not purified, he should continue the stage of pratyahar till he reaches a stage of steady dharana. And then he should do dhyan. Dhyan means, now dharana means a generalized meditation on the form of the Lord which is there in the heart. And dhyan means now focused meditation on each and every limb of the Lord. That is called dhyan. And by this, ultimately one reaches samadhi. So Prabhupada in the purports describes in great detail about how all these things have to be done for a devotee also. A devotee has to control his mind, control the senses, avoid the objects of sense gratification, focuses on the deity form of the Lord. In that way, he can be always in samadhi. And what will be the destination of such type of yogi? Yasyam sandhyaremanayam yogino bhakti lakshanah ashu sampadyate yoga ashrayam bhadramikshataha. So in this way, if somebody is focused in his meditation on dharana, yogino bhakti lakshanaha, this mystic yoga practiced in devotional system, bhakti has to be there, then he will attain ashu. Ashu means very quickly he will attain the devotional service to the Lord. After this, Parikshit Maharaj, he inquires that how is this dharana, means absorption, accomplished, and on whom to focus? We have to focus on whom? That is called dharana ashraya. Dharana ashraya means object of meditation. And you told that if the mind is not purified, then he has to continue the process of pratyahar. How to quickly become free from the contaminations of the mind? So these are the three questions. So Shukdev Goswami says that a person So the first question was, how is dharana accomplished? So the answer is by controlling the breathing process, by proper sitting postures, by controlling the mind and the senses, one can attain dharana. Dharana means generalized meditation on the form of the Lord. You know. So this Virat Rupa, he says, Sthule Bhagavate Rupe. So the process of meditation on the Virat Rupa, that is described here now. That is the object of meditation of a person who is still not pure in his mind. A person who is a yogi who has still material desires, what he should do? He should meditate on the Virat Rupa of the Lord. And then, the entire description of the Virat Rupa is given. How various limbs of the Lord, they are represented by a certain certain planetary system, just like the Patal represents the bottom of the feet, Rasatal represents the heads and heels and the toe, and like that it goes on to the forehead. So this is the description of the Virat Rupa form of the Lord. And in the end of this chapter, Shukdev Goswami says, for a yogi who still has material desires, he has to meditate on Virat Rupa and nothing else. If he meditates on any other form, he will get degraded. So that is the end of this chapter. So about this Virat Rupa, we'll discuss in more detail. Anybody has any questions? Okay, so there are no questions, so we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.